I think most of us would agree that a federal program would be our preference. But there is merit in a state program, and we've seen that in Canada, where British Columbia has had a carbon tax in place for a number of years now, and their economy has consistently outperformed the rest of the country. So there are ways to do it, and they do use that model that you mentioned, Terry, where people, there is a price on carbon, and then people get checks back through their income tax. And that is the kind of model that we would be using here in this state. And I think it has a lot of promise. It's not to say, again, as I said before, that we would go into it lightly. We need to really look at it hard. But, I find it very promising.
And on a minor note?
So I've been hearing about a proposal for a carbon tax. Can you guarantee that will not increase the cost of our energy, like to heat our home, to light our house, and to drive our cars?
I cannot guarantee that. However, what I can say is that we've just received a survey, a study that was done by the former state economist and his research group at Portland State University that suggests that if done right, putting a price on carbon can actually do good things for the Oregon economy and can actually increase the number of jobs and can, obviously reduce significantly the amount of carbon that we put into the atmosphere.
So,
and will we pass a carbon tax this year? I got to say no. And I've got to say that that's good because it is a big step and it's not something that we can do lightly. But it is something that we need to do further study on, to take the results of those recommendations. Actually, they're not recommendations, they're just sort of laying out different scenarios and figuring out, okay, what is the next step for Oregon? Where can we go with this? And let me say, I was just at a meeting with representatives from the 3 Pacific states, Washington, California, and Oregon, and British Columbia. We're part of a group, the governors and the premier created a group called the Pacific Climate Collaborative, where we are looking at how we as a Pacific entity, how can we move the needle on reducing carbon pollution? And, if you look at that entity, if you think of us as one entity, this is the world's 5th largest economy. I mean, this is big. And California has put a price on carbon. British Columbia has put a price on carbon. Washington is talking about putting a price on carbon. If Oregon does the same, I think we can have a real impact on, on the environment and do it in a way that will really create jobs in the alternative energy industry. We're seeing that in California. And we're seeing California was broke. California is now the envy of the country in many ways.
So now wait, just a minute. If that's going to increase jobs, who's going to pay for those increased paychecks? It's got to be the energy users. If you're going to have more jobs, somebody's got to pay those people. Where's that money going to come from?
Where does your oil come from now?
The ground.
Not in Oregon.
So what?
I was really concerned when I read about
I'm sorry, I missed your answer.
They didn't answer it.
Are you not answering my question, sir?
Polluting used trucks.
Where's the money going to come from to pay all these new workers with the low-carbon fuel? So you said there's going to be a lot of jobs from low-carbon fuel. Where's the money going to come from to pay for the workers?
Well, the money that we're now paying for, the petroleum importers into the state, for these workers who are working on electrical generation or on biodiesel or on, the propane those more local entities.
So they can produce energy cheaper than the oil companies?
Absolutely.
Can you give me an example of something they're now doing cheaper? Like, that's okay.
My understanding is that propane is cheaper.
No, but that's not a
as a
substitute
fuel.
for gasoline.
You're
talking about changing fuels. That's a different issue.
Well, that is the whole purpose of the low carbon fuel standard is to encourage people, to do that.
Where do we get propane?
We get propane from petroleum, but it's a much lower carbon form of combustion.
That doesn't make jobs. Because every job gain in propane is going to be a job lost in the gasoline that it replaces.
My understanding is that, and I'm thinking perhaps more of biodiesel, where it's being developed through cogeneration and from that kind of thing.
So where is biodiesel cheaper than petroleum-based diesel?
I think it's actually very, very comparable. Now, right now, of course, the price has gone unnaturally down, but we know it's going to go back up.
Oh no, there's nothing unnatural about the price drop in petroleum. That's due to market, just ordinary supply and demand.
We'll see. We'll see what the cost is going to be, a year from now.
No, they're producing this stuff around $40 a barrel.
They can't produce the.
No, that's shale. That's a number for shale.
Right. Yes. And so on the one hand, people are saying that, well, the reason the price is so low is because we're getting all this oil from Canada, right? And yet, with the price so low, they're not going to be able to produce the oil from shale, right? And so, right now, the Saudi Arabians are pumping because they want to drive the opposition out.
No, that's not.
But pretty soon, you're going to see those prices go back up.
All Saudi Arabia did was maintain their current level and their decision
of pumping. Right. Even though others, in the past, when we've seen a drop off in consumption, they have, they have lowered their consumption, their production at that point.
Yeah, they didn't do that this time.
Right. That's correct.
Now,
and it is going to affect the price of oil.
Now, when you
so come back in a year and let's see what the price of gas is.
Now, when you mention biodiesel, you still got two problems. Number one, it does not reduce carbon. That's pretty well established at this point.
I don't believe
and
that's true.
Number two, it increases the cost of food, and that is killing people in the third world.
It depends what the source of that ethanol is. If it's corn-based, then no. But there are increasing amounts of cellulosic coming from rapeseed, canola, and a number of other sources that that's where the research is moving us.
That won't displace farmland?
No.
You also need to know what it does to the life of a motor that's being operated in, and whether it cuts the longevity or hurts the mechanical function of the motor, because that's a cost too.
I believe that the technology will get better and better. And,
the city of Portland ruined 20 trucks because they put in, I think, 20% or 30%? They put in more biodiesel, more of the bio.
Yeah, obviously we have to do this. We have to do this in the right way.
20,000 miles.
Yeah.
They were destroyed.
Like a decade or two ago, California did it the wrong way and destroyed thousands of diesel engines with their low sulfur diesel. So don't count on the government doing it the right way. But getting back to biofuels, you can't change the subject to cellulosic instead of corn-based.
Right.
But it's still a farm product. It still takes diesel, carbon-emitting diesel to make this stuff, and it still competes with food production for land.
If it does not cut carbon, then it's not going to benefit under this program. If you look at the rules that DEQ just adopted, the whole basis of this program is that every kind of fuel that's used in this state is going to be analyzed for the amount of carbon that it puts out. And that more credits will go to the fuel source that's lower down on the range. So, corn-based ethanol, for example, maybe it's going to be a little better than petroleum, but not a lot better. So the people who are producing and selling that are not going to get full credits for that. And, that's a program strategy that makes a lot of sense to me.